All right. Looks like we got sound. Good. All right. Luna, is this your? Is this what you had the question about?
Yeah. So I put in the text function. I called arrays, and then I put in individual arrays, and then I had to look up new array list, array.asList.
Oh no. Yeah, that's more complicated than you need.
Okay.
Okay, so this is in Unit 8, so it's for the array list function.
Yeah.
So you're right, this is supposed to be an array list here,
Yeah.
which means you should be creating the array list over here
Oh.
as your test. So for example, for this one here,
You just wanted me to do.
you should, okay, so it should be something like, something like this.
Yeah. Oh. That's it.
And then, so this will come in as values. So now this is going to be an array list of integers, which means that over here when you declare this should be array list of integer also.
Okay. So I just.
So then, and then you just pass it through. So you don't have to do this conversion. What you're doing here is like this conversion to an array list.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, create an array list from the beginning.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking we need to tie in Unit 7 and Unit 8.
No.
Okay.
Right. But they're both going to be kind of tied together in this last unit, Unit 9. All right. Is everyone ready? Yeah? Okay, what are we talking about? So this unit, there's nothing new. Well, there's one thing that's kind of new, but not really. It's okay, so it's going to be with arrays and array lists. Everything we do is going to be either an array or an array list. So you want to be able to use either one for any of these problems. They're all going to involve for loops, just like we did the last two units. Most importantly, though, we're going to see functions that also return an array list or an array. So right now, so far, all we've done is we've taken arrays or array lists as input, but not also as output. So now we can have an array list as output. So for example, maybe you want to filter a list of things. Like let's say you have a list of scores, and you want only the good scores in the list. So you want to create another list that only has the good scores. Or maybe you want to transform a list. So given a list of people, you want to transform that into a list of those people's ages, or maybe the length of their names. We'll do something like that. Okay, so and maybe you just want to create a list of something. So we've done something like sequences, FizzBuzz, Fibonacci sequence. Maybe you want to have a function. So but before when we were doing these sequences, we would just print out the numbers one after another. But maybe you want to have a function that gives you a whole array list of the first 30 Fibonacci numbers. So we'll be able to do that. Okay. So I'm not going to run any unit tests for this. I'm just going to demonstrate what these functions are going to look like. For your homework, though, you should do. Actually, you don't need to do. I think I said you don't have to do full unit tests. We'll take a look at the homework for this one. It's a little bit harder when you're doing a unit test for array output, because you need to make sure that all the values are the same. It's not that much harder, but it's a little more work. So let's see. We're going to see a few examples of functions. Let's start with one. Actually, let's start with something that we know already. Let's say we have a list of values, and we want to just find the minimum value of that list. Okay, so this is kind of a typical thing. This is more of a warm-up since we're coming off of vacation. So let's start with maybe a list of values. Maybe let's something like this. Here, let's put the real number in the smallest in the middle there. We want to find the minimum. Let's find the minimum value of this. Okay, so we need a function called min value. And that's going to return just our minimum value of our list of values. Okay. What should the answer be, actually? Should be what? 5, right? Okay, good. Okay, so just as a warm-up, what should we do? How do we find the minimum of these values? We've done this before.
Compare them to 0 and 2.
Compared to, well, yeah, I want to be comparing. So we want to go through the list, right? So we have this, we're going to loop through the list, right? We want to look at each number, but what do we do as we look through the list? Reach back into your memory from 2 weeks ago. Well, not closest. We just want the smallest, right? Of all these values. Remember how these functions looked? What did we do? What's that? We had a for loop. Absolutely had a for loop. And we can use a for each loop here, right? Okay, what are we doing in that for loop? We're checking each value, right? So if our value, what? What are we looking for? So I don't think about what do we do? Like what would you do if you're looking through this list? Well, you look at the 10 first, right? And then you look at the 30. Is the 30 better than the 10? No. Okay, so you look at the next one. Is the 50 better than the 10? No. Go to the next one, right? So the way of thinking about it is why I'm saying that is because we're thinking about it the same way. So how do we do that in code?
Oh, wait, like we can like subtract it?
Well, we compared to something, right?
Yeah.
What were we comparing to? The first value, right?
But you're not guaranteed the first value.
Right. We're not guaranteed.
Like the first value and then just compare.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea. Let's have a variable first, right? We can start with our first one. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, but what should our comparison look like?
Value plus 1, right? It's value. Oh wait, do we need to create an integer if we're running through it?
No, we're just going to do a for each loop. So we're just looking through the values. So we don't need the indices.
The value is smaller than the set.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, you remember this? All right, so what is that code doing? So this is thinking about it the way we like to think about it. We're keeping our best value, right? We're keeping it in this. We have this box, our result. We're keeping our best value in the box. We put our first number in the box, and when we compare to that, right? Is 30 better than what we have so far? No. Is 50 better than what we have so far? No. Is 5 better than what we have so far? Yes, right? If 5 is better than that, then we're going to put 5 in the box. And whatever was in the box, that's what we return, right? Okay. Is there anything wrong with this function? Could something go wrong?
If there's nothing in the array.
Yeah, if there's nothing in the list in this array, then this is going to cause a problem.
Or value
Nothing.
Okay.
So what happens there? Does the result get replaced? No. So that's actually kind of an interesting observation. It means that we're going to return the first value, the first minimum, right? The first minimum that we see. If there's something else that is the same value, then we're not going to change that. Okay, that's fine. We'll just leave this as it is. There's an error here. So, but let's see some other types of functions we might have.
Sorry, on a quiz, if we had that problem, would we get like points off if we didn't do some check? If there was nothing in the
Possibly.
Okay, so will we just be like?
Depends on how I write it on the quiz.
Okay. So we just be like. How would
You should be careful about it. Yeah, you should. You should be careful about it. Like you should do something at least, even if you don't like point it out. Like you should like if you see that there's a possibility for an error, you should always be marking it whatever you're doing.
Okay, so should I say like should we like add something to the code?
You could, yeah. Well, okay. So what would? Yeah, that's a good question. What should you add here to avoid an error?
Another if statement above this one. Yeah, if the length equals 0.
Yeah, we could absolutely do that. So yeah, so we could if our values.length is equal to 0, then we can do something else first, right? We could return
0, right?
0 or something. I'm not sure if 0 is the right thing to return.
Then wouldn't it?
But we want to return something, right?
Then if it like, wouldn't it still do the for loop?
Will it do the for loop? If
So like we return something, does that mean it doesn't like the code ends there?
it just ends right there, yeah. So when you return, you're returning from that function, so you're leaving it. But let's make sure. Let's say values 2. Oh, actually, there's another problem which is a little less. Let's see what this does first. Okay, so here we're giving it empty first. Let's make sure this is doing what we expect, right? Okay. So again, I'm not sure 0 is what we want to return, but that's okay. What happens if it's null? Or if we just don't define it? If we don't define it, then it should be null. Oh, no, it even says it's not initialized. Okay, the compiler doesn't like that. But if we compile it and we say it's null, then we get an error there, right? Do you see why there's an error? So we're passing null into here. Over here. Oh yeah, this is a problem because values.length, there's no such thing as values.length because there's no such thing as values. The values is null. So if you want to be really careful about everything, you would do something like this. The value.
AP do that to us?
I don't think so.
That seems like evil.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
Wait, if it's and, does that mean it has to be both null and?
Oh, good catch. Thank you. That was absolutely supposed to be an R. Okay. Okay, so would they do this to you on the AP exam? Probably not. Will real life do this to you if you're writing code for a company or your science project? Yes. This could absolutely happen, and that's something you always want to be careful about. In real life, stuff like this happens. Like you might get a null value, you might, especially if you're doing any kind of web development where people are putting in information. So, something to think about.
So what would you put instead of 0? Because the minimum, because 0 is a number. So.
Yeah, I would put. I would probably use the double max value. So there's a static value called.
Would it accept N, A,
It might. Is it wait, hold on. Actually, that's a great question. I would use NaN or max value, but let's see. It should be capital double dot. I think that should be it. Yeah, okay, so it looks that one. That I would either do that or so double max value is going to be the maximum value that can be that a double can be. Like every double value has to be smaller than that. There's an advantage to both of these. Depends on what your application is. So I would do one of those. All right. Great questions. Okay, let's get on to more of the stuff that you're going to be doing for your homework. Okay, so this is finding a max or min, or finding. This is just like a find algorithm. Okay, the rest of these, we're going to do 3 more. These are all going to be returning lists. Okay, let's do a filter. Okay, let's do this. Let's say we have a bunch of scores from your math tests. Something like this. Here, let's do this. Okay. So we have a bunch of scores here. There's, let's say we have this array of scores. Here's our scores. Let's say we want to have a function that's going to give us the list of just the good scores, whatever that means. What's a good score?
Well, that's subjective.
It is subjective, but that's okay.
92.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea is that we're going to have this array list of doubles we're going to get from this function. So we're going to have a function called filter good scores. We're going to put our scores function into that. We're going to get our list of good scores, and then we will print them out. Like this, right? Okay, so what's our subjective criterion for a good score?
It ends in a 0 or a 5. What? That's a good score. That's a great score. I was What? That's. I feel like if it ends in a 0 or 5, it's like satisfying. I'm telling all my colleges I thought this was like you're just thinking of numbers that we like. I didn't realize this was like a grade thing. Okay.
Okay, so we have here. Actually, this is kind of interesting. We're doing this function that's going to take an array of doubles as our input. We're going to give back an array list of doubles. That's because we don't know how long the list is going to be, right? We don't know how many good scores there are going to be before we go into this. Okay, but what is it we want to do here? We want to create a new list. We want to go through our list of scores. If it's a good score, we put it on the new list. And then at the end of it, we return our list. Right? Make sense? Okay, so we have, we'll do, and so you'll see that these functions are going to look a lot like all the other ones we've found. Let's say we'll just call this our result. So we have a new array list of doubles. At the end, we're going to be returning it. And in the middle, we're going to be calculating our result, the same as it was before, except that now we're actually calculating a list. We're creating a list. So let's see. Well, for each value in our values. Okay, so what is it we want to do here? What's our criterion here?
92.5.
Better than that.
You succumbed to the Marlboro.
Yeah.
Better than value is better than 92.5. Then what do we do? Put it into the good scores, right? So we're going to put that into our result. We're going to add that to our results, right?
Why do you do dot add instead of plus?
Can you do a plus?
Is it like because it's a string? Like, you know.
What is result?
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so we're creating a new list.
Okay, because
So what we're doing is we're adding something to this list each time.
Okay.
And that's how you add something to a list for array list.
Okay.
Oh, can't find the symbol. That is for array list. Let's try that again. What did I do? Oh, I called it scores. Right here, you see this? There we go. Okay. How's that look? I should add a space after those colons.
Oh, so it repeats all scores and then it puts the. That looks good.
Okay, so you see what I was doing to test this? So you could write a full unit test for this, but for this assignment you're not going to be writing the full unit test. But I want you to write enough like this so you can see that your function is doing what you expect it to do. So you can see what I did. I printed out the input, I printed out the output. I'm looking visually to see that the output is what I expect it is. Make sense? All right. Great. Let's do another one. Here, this is another thing, something called a transform. Okay, so if we're going to transform a list, what does that mean? We're going to have some input list, and then we're going to transform it by using a function to do something to everything in that list. So, for example, let's say I have a bunch of names, right? Let's say Tessa, Luna. Maybe I should go back to the back there. Riley, Linda. Okay, so here's our names. And maybe I want to transform this. And here, maybe I should just do the same thing I did for this.
Do like a random, wait, the transformer is putting more stuff into the list.
No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, like, maybe we want the number of characters in each name, like the number of letters in each name.
But if we were doing a function like this, could we ask the computer to put random scores into a new list?
You could. You could, for doing a test.
Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely could. Yeah. Okay, so here are my names. Here, let's say that let's have the lengths. Get lengths of these names. And actually, I think we can just print out this. Actually, since we had an array list, I could have just printed the good scores. Okay, well, this will work. Okay, you guys see what we're going to be doing here? So we're going to have, we're going to return a list of integers. Is that what I called it? Is oh, you know what? No, yeah, let's do that, just so I can print it. Okay, what do I need to do here? For loop. And what am I returning?
Nope.
Not just one length. I'm returning a whole list of lengths. Right, so like over here, what should I be returning? What should it print out?
Number.
Yeah, what numbers?
5,
Like 5, 4, 6, 5. Right? Okay, so that's what we want to print out. So that's what we want to have a whole, when we have those words going into this function, we want to return a list of numbers. So we're going to have this array list of integers. We can call this result. So again, we're doing this same kind of thing. We're going to have this list of integers that we're creating. We're going to use a for loop to fill out the list, and then we'll return the list. And we can do this with a for each loop again. What do we do?
Do we have to make the variable result?
We have it now. Yep. So you can see, yeah. So there's our result. It's an array list of integers. We are going to be returning it. So now we're going through our list of strings. So our list of names.
Are you adding like all the letters to one? Or is
No. So we want individual. We want the list of numbers, right? So yeah, before like we had the total z name length or whatever, but yeah. So this time we want individual numbers, and we're going to put one of those numbers each in the list. Yeah.
It'd be like result dot add name dot length.
That sounds great. Is it length?
Or I don't even know.
I don't remember. It's a string.
Wait, array list is like name. It's yeah,
But it's a string. It's the length of the string, right?
name dot length.
And then length is a function. Yes. Okay. So yes, for each name in the list, we're going to get that length of the name, and we're going to add it to the result. Oh. Oh my goodness, what is going on here? do. Get links. Their name. Oh, that's not a double. I wonder where it's doing the double. Got it. Okay. And what do we do here? Oh. This is an integer. Okay. Clearly I am still on break also. Okay. How'd we do?
Great.
Looks good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea there, again, transform, what we're doing is we're applying a function to each thing in the list. So we get a new list but it's a transformed list, right? We've applied that function to each one. You're going to be doing a function like this. You did a function before to reverse a string, to do the mirror of a string. So you'll be doing the same thing, but to a whole list of strings. So reversing each string in the list. Here, let's do a sequence. Here, let's do like a FizzBuzz. So we're gonna have a function that's gonna be get FizzBuzz. It's gonna look a lot like what we did before. Only now it's going to be a function, right? So we're going to call this function. It's going to return this array list of strings. Those are going to be the FizzBuzz strings, right? So it's going to return this whole list of strings, and we'll print it out. Okay, so we want this FizzBuzz function. We're going to take an integer as input. But we're going to create this array list from nothing, right? So if our integer is 30, we're going to get 30, a list of length 30. Right? So let's do this exactly the same way that we've done all the others. What do we do?
For loop.
For loop. Ooh. What kind of for loop?
For each loop.
For each thing in what list?
For each value.
Don't you need to do the
What are we
I
doing
thing?
again? Oh, never mind. You're not iterating through an array list. Never mind.
So what are we doing here? Yeah, so if I do get FizzBuzz 30, I'm going to return a list of 30 things, 30 strings, all the FizzBuzz strings.
We should do that.
We should do that. It's fun.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, but we can't do a for each loop. A for each loop is if you already have there's already a list of values that you want to go through. We're creating a new list.
Should we
It
do
would
like
be you have to initialize it, right? Because then
Initialize what?
I feel like this is an in I one because then you make in I the length less than in N.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, if we're passing 30 in there, we want to have a list of length 30. So we're going to be doing this iteration something like this, right? So that's where that's where the N is coming in, right? So we're going to put 30 things in this list. In fact, maybe we should make it less than or equal to, just because I think that might be a little more natural for people. What do we do here?
do the FizzBuzz function?
What is FizzBuzz again?
Oh yeah, what is fizz buzz?
It's if it's 5.
It's 5. You.
Is I think.
So
If it's
do it
3,
if
if it's
it's
3,
zero.
it's fizz. If it's multiple of 3, it's fizz. If it's multiple of 5, it's buzz. If it's multiple of both, it's fizz buzz.
So do you do the if thing?
Oh yeah, so we just play fizz buzz. This way we've done this before, right? So if and we have to start with what?
I is equal to 0. Do we?
Well, we do start at equals 0, but with our
I-
condition.
Oh, the percent sign. 3
equals 0. Or.
What do we do here, right?
Oh, is it just 1? Sorry.
Return fizz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
No.
return.
No.
What do we do?
What?
Wait.
What are we doing here? Okay, so we're playing fizz buzz, but it's kind of a different kind of fizz buzz. So last time we played fizz buzz,
Result
we were just
equals-
printing, right?
Oh,
Printing
result
stuff?
dot
But-
add.
Oh, we're adding to the list.
Yeah.
Yes. So what are we adding to the list here?
Fizz.
Numbers?
3.
I don't know.
We want that, the actual number, or fizz, right? Yeah, so like fizz here, right? We're going to put fizz on the list, right? What do we do?
It's divisible by 3. and
7 equals
5.
5. Okay, if it's divisible by 5, then what do we do?
Buzz.
We put buzz on the list, right? Otherwise what?
Nothing.
What if it's divisible by
What
both?
if it's both?
Yeah, what if it's both?
But don't you want to
It's
do
coming back.
both first?
Why do we want to do both first?
Because otherwise the both will always it'll like
Oh, remember that?
Yeah, I forgot.
Okay, yeah, we did want both first. Okay, so what are we going to do here? We're going to put 15 here, and that's going to be fizz buzz, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to have, over here we'll have check for fizz, right? Check for buzz. Otherwise what?
Return the result. Return result or result add result.
Like a line?
The number, right?
Oh, we just printed the number before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to put that number in the as a string,
I-
though. Okay, we need to make it a string, so we're going to do the string plus I. That's a kind of a tricky way of converting an integer into a string.
Wait, why would I?
I is an integer, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we have a list of strings here. So if you just try to add I to that list, it's going to complain. The compiler is going to complain. I'm lapsing into Python syntax. All right. How's it look?
Crazy.
A little crazy, right? Maybe we should add a,
A line.
yeah. Probably even another line. That's not bad though, right?
So 0 is fizz buzz?
Is that right?
Oh, that's what it says. Right?
Well, I mean, technically it's
Yeah.
divisible by 15.
It is. Yeah, 0 is divisible by 15.
Because it equals 0.
Yep.
I don't know what
Yeah. All right. Okay, so you saw what we did here is we generated a sequence out of nothing and returned that from our function. Okay, so that's it. You're going to have your homework is going to look a lot like those examples that I just gave you. Let me see. Let's see if I can find it. I don't have a browser open. I do. Oh my goodness. Yeah, print out, make sure that it's doing what you expect it to do.
And will we like do that? What function will we do when we do that? Would it just be in like the
You could do it right in your main function.
okay.
Or you could do it as a separate, if you want to have a test function, you're welcome to do that too. So let me show you what the assignment is. There's no extra reading or anything. There's nothing new here other than just to remember how arrays and array lists work. Okay, first thing, find a maximum value. That's a lot like finding the minimum value, like what we just did. So then there's a filtering a list, transforming a list, and constructing a sequence, just like those examples that I just gave you. And in fact, the filter good scores, that is exactly what I gave you, pretty much. If you want, you can make that a little different to give yourself a little challenge. But the transforming the list, that's a good one, of reversing all the strings. You have a list of strings, you want to call your reverse function on each one, so I'd recommend finding your reverse function that you did before and then using that. And then constructing a Fibonacci sequence from scratch, so returning an array list of values for the Fibonacci sequence. Okay, and that's the actual assignment. So that's the last assignment. That's also this is the last unit for the semester. So there's a quiz for this. The quiz for this one has 4 problems instead of 3, just so you know. If you could guess what the problems are, there are 4 exercises here. So, but also attached to this assignment, so in case you're getting bored over these last few weeks, if you have everything else done and you want some extra practice on your coding, I have some bonus exercises here, which you might be interested in if you've done some calculus or even pre-calculus. So things like approximating pi, approximating e, these are all done with infinite series. So you're adding up a bunch of terms. So a lot like generating these sequences that you're about to generate, the Fibonacci sequence, just you're generating a sequence of fractions and adding them up, and you can get approximations for pi and e, and you can even do things like calculating the sine and cosine functions using power series, using the exact same technique. So if you're interested in doing any of that, talk to me and I can help you along with that. Any questions? All right, so from here on out, we have work periods through the end of this semester.